And then when it all comes together, it's like magic. Hello there, I'm Kristin, also known as Vine here on my YouTube channel, where I chat about what I'm knitting, what I'm sewing, what I'm making, or whatever other crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down this week. And as always, I'm so happy that you're taking some time out of your day to chat about all those awesome things with me. And I hopefully have a fun episode for you this week. This week it's all about knitting. I got no sewing done over the weekend, or since I last chatted with you. Nothing to write home about on the sewing front, but quite a bit of knitting content to share with you this week. I hope you guys are psyched for that. Gather around, grab a cup of something, and let's get into things. But first, just a couple of announcements. Of course, we have our year-long make-along that is currently underway. That is the History Make-Along, where we're all endeavoring to make something historically inspired, be it knitting, sewing, weaving, embroidery, whatever your craft is, you're welcome to join. And that is coming to a close on March 1st, 2021. So that, I have a funny feeling, is going to be coming up rather quickly, given all the things that are going on at the moment. Time just seems to either stand still or go by super fast, or it really just depends. But anyway, it's coming up pretty soon. So regardless, March 1st, 2021 is on the horizon, but there's still plenty of time to join. And there are two ways to do it. The first way is to hop on over to the Vine Ravelry group, where there is a thread titled History MAL, and just basically join the chatter that's happening there, share your projects, share photos, you know, just join the chatter and you'll be entered to win a giveaway prize come to the end of the make-along. And then the other way to join, which you can also double dip in, is to hop on over to Instagram. Again, share whatever you're making using the hashtag using hashtag HistoryMAL. And as I say every week, it's just been a really fun make-along to keep up with, so definitely check it out. Last but not least, this episode is sponsored by the one and only Skillshare, which is an online learning community platform where you can learn pretty much anything. I use it all the time to hone skills when it comes to social media marketing, small business, my photography skills, if I want to explore new hobbies or interests. As if you are a veteran of this here YouTube channel, you know how many creative rabbit holes I dive down. So whenever I have a curiosity about a new craft or skill, I go to Skillshare. That's the first place I go and see what they have to offer regarding classes when it comes to whatever I want to learn. So if that's something that interests you, click on the link in the description box below and you get to try Skillshare for 2 weeks absolutely free on yours truly. You're welcome, and thank you, Skillshare. Now that we have administrati out of the way, let's get into what I've been making this week. And as the title suggests, this is a knitting heavy episode, and you probably noticed the elephant in the room, which is my finished Ladie's Sirdar vintage jumper. It's done, it's done. And I posted about this over on Instagram. I shared some photos showing all the different angles about what it looks like and all that good stuff. So, you know, thank you so much for the sweater love. There were so many comments under that post that I really couldn't keep up, but I read each and every one of them. So thank you, thank you. I am very, very proud of this make. This has to be probably one of my most favorite makes that I've ever made. I mean, it speaks to me on so many levels. But anyway, let's talk about it, shall we? Again, this is a vintage pattern by the Sirdar Yarn Company. There's no specific title for it. It's just called Ladie's Jumper. I believe it's number 1475. If you are interested in making this or knitting this jumper, it is available to purchase as a PDF from Etsy. And again, I will link to that down in the description box below, along with everything else that I mentioned in this episode. And because it's a vintage pattern, the language that they use in there is a bit cryptic, but not if you just take it one step at a time. When you open up the pattern, you're just going to be greeted with a wall of text and some lingo that you're not going to understand right away. Back then they used different terms for yarn overs and, you know, you get the idea. But anyway, I did post some notes over on my Ravelry project page for this project, so I did do my best to kind of help you guys, you know, decipher those abbreviations and whatnot, and just, you know, just logging my experience knitting this pattern, because this was actually my very, very first vintage knitting pattern that I knit to completion. So again, very, very chuffed with myself. And while, you know, that aspect of it was a little bit challenging, the actual knitting and construction of this pattern was fairly easy. And I was just really impressed with the way that it came together. And, you know, again, I just took things one step at a time. I did find it helpful just to go in with a highlighter and just highlight the sections that I was currently knitting on, and just writing little notes and asterisks in the margins just to keep track of where I was, on which date and everything. But overall, it just came together beautifully. And the fit, I mean, you can probably tell, it fits me like a glove. I think if it was any tighter or any smaller, I think we might have issues, but this just came together so nicely. So I'll stand up so you can see. Yeah, this is what it looks like. Here's the side. I seamed the sleeve down under the armpit all the way down to the bodice or the waist. And here is what it looks like in the back. So I just basically crocheted a little loop for the buttonhole, and then added this nice little vintage button right here. So it has a nice little keyhole shape in the back. However, I deviated from the pattern. The pattern had actually wanted me to crochet a button stand on either side of the split and add I think about like 3 or 4 buttons on the side. But instead of crocheting a button band, I simply just joined the 2 sections in the back together using a crochet hook, the same method that I used to graft these 2 sections here. So this section here was knit separately from this section, and then I joined the 2 sections together down the center using a crochet method, which gives it this nice vertebrae texture down the center here. Yeah, so I really love the way that it looks, and I'm not gonna lie, this is a little painstaking to make sure that the stripes or the ribs matched up evenly. The pattern doesn't say to make sure that the lines match up. That was just a creative decision, in the moment decision. I'm like, this is gonna bother me if the stripes are staggered or just off. And anyway, so that was a little slow going, but I made it happen and very pleased with the way it turned out, obviously. Yeah, and in the last episode, I was knitting on this section here, the ribbing. So the ribbing is knit in 2 separate pieces. There's the front and then the back, and then obviously when you construct the sweater together or you seam the sweater together, they're joined at the side. But in knitting this part, it looked very, very narrow, like it wasn't gonna fit, but again, it's ribbing and it stretches out quite nicely. And yes, it's very, very, very form-fitting. So yeah, I am very, very happy with the way this turned out, guys, as I said, for the umpteenth time. And normally I'm not a huge fan of sweaters, of short sleeve sweaters. I like my sweaters to have some sleeves to them because, you know, my arms do get cold. But I feel like this is going to be a really nice transitional layering piece. And because the majority of it is lace, I do get a lot of ventilation here. So I'm not just going to be, you know, like super warm up here and cold on my arms. I feel like I can just layer this under a cardigan or, you know, hey, another sweater or something. But at the end of the day, I think this is just going to be a really nice layering piece. I don't feel hot in it. I feel pretty comfortable. I just have a simple camisole underneath here. So, you know, because otherwise you're just gonna, you know, see my bra. So the camisole does add a nice layer of modesty to it, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what else I want to say about it other than I really enjoyed the knit. I highly recommend it if you are interested in making one for yourself. Again, I took lots of notes over on my Ravelry page that can potentially serve as a helpful guide. And of course, there was another knitter out there, I'm blanking on her name, but she did take the time to chart out the written instructions for this lace part right here, which looks complicated, but very intuitive. I memorized it, and again, it was just a pleasure to work on. I can't remember the last time I was this monogamous on a project. So yay, Lady Sirdar sweater complete, done. I think my vintage knitting pattern cherry has been popped. I could totally see myself knitting another vintage pattern. Yeah, because there's so many beautiful patterns out there, and the construction of them are, I mean, this one in particular was genius. I mean, you're knitting it and you're like, how is this going to even work? And then when it all comes together, it's like magic. So yeah, the yarn for the last time is my hand-dyed yarn, Vine yarns, on my new base, which is a fingering single ply superwash merino in my Vine number 9 colorway, which is a glorious moody mauve that makes my heart sing so much. And just a little note about my nouveau base. I am going to be getting more in the shop hopefully soon because of COVID and everything. My supplier, the shipping has been delayed. So they're waiting for a shipment from Peru, which is where the mills are. So they're waiting to get some in stock, and then once they get in stock, they'll notify me, and then I can hopefully get more nouveau base in stock. Just to give you guys a little heads up about that, along with some other bases that I'm waiting to come back into stock. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on to my next work in progress. Okay, living in this project bag that I sewed and greedily kept for myself because I couldn't resist. It's my Halloween themed project drawstring bag that I make, and I am working on some more bags for my shop, so look out for that. But yes, I decided to keep this one for myself. I could not resist. This print is yeah, makes my heart sing. So living inside of this is a project you may not have seen for quite some time. I cast it on over 6 months ago, and I'm just taking out some other things that were living in there. So anyway. Let's see. So yes, as I mentioned, this is a project that I cast on over 6 months ago, and as soon as I finished this project, I immediately picked this back up because I almost forgot about it. I was like, oh yeah, that pattern. Remember that pattern, Kristin? Yeah, we should finish it because you were so close to finishing it, and we need to get stuff off the needles, basically. So, oh goodness, here we go. Does this look familiar at all? Yes, this is my Nurtured Sweater, a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and I am very close to finishing it, guys. And where I last left off, I had finished knitting both sleeves and the body. So I was ready to join said sleeves to the body, and I have since done that. And I'm now currently decreasing the raglan stitches, which you can see right here. And you can also see that I have a stitch marker from Hannah of the Corner of Craft. It's this adorable little skull with a head wreath. It's garland, I should say, head wreath. It's a garland. But yeah, it's just been keeping me company on here, so yay. But yeah, I just love the way that the raglan shaping's coming together. It just has like this strip of stockinette going down here, and the decreases are on either side. But yeah, just overall, I don't know why I stopped knitting on it. It's just such a simple, easy, relaxing construction. Who's calling me? Stop it. Robocolor, stop it. Anyway. I don't know about you guys, I am such an introvert. I literally let every single phone call go to voice message. It doesn't matter if I know you, I just let it go to voicemail because I'm never ready to talk on the phone. I have to be mentally prepared to sit down and talk on the phone. So if you do ever phone call me, I'm not gonna pick up. I'm gonna let it go to voicemail and call you when I'm good and ready. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, that was a robocolor. I don't answer those at all. Yeah, anyway, I digress. Where was I on this? So I really don't know why I stopped knitting on this. I think because a new and shiny pattern came along and I was like, ooh, let me cast that on. I can always come back to this. Anyway, 6 months later, here we are, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And as the pattern describes, it is a crop sweater. It has positive ease. I'm knitting the second size up from the smallest, so I do want this to be a little bit roomier. And again, I did not swatch. I just do not like swatching, so I just don't do it. Because as I mentioned last week, for me, whenever I swatch, I find that the swatch tends to lie. So I don't know, it never works out for me. And it's usually a shot in the dark, but I think it really comes down to knowing whether you're a tight knitter, loose knitter, or somewhere in between, and just kind of doing your research on Ravelry. Again, thank goodness for Ravelry because you can do that type of research. Where am I going with this? As I mentioned last week, when it came to deciding what needles to use for this project, my Ladie Sirdar jumper, I'm neither a loose knitter nor a tight knitter. I'm somewhere in between. So when I did my little research on when I did research on Ravelry for this project, I looked at all the other needle sizes that everyone used for this project and went with the most used needle size. But I have a good feeling that the most used needle sizes for this project are the people that have the same type of gauge that I do, that fall somewhere in between of not so much a tight knitter and loose knitter, because there's a spectrum. Anyway, again, my own personal brand of crazy. It's not scientific. It's just how I approach choosing needle sizes. And that's the same tactic that I used for choosing the needle size on this. Yeah, so, and what needle size am I using? I'm using Chiaogu's US size 8's 5.0 millimeter needles. So, and I think a size smaller for the ribs and cuffs. But anyway, let me stand up so you can see what this looks like. Yeah, so again, crop sweater, the armhole, let me see, yeah, the underarm comes here. So the same length as my Sirdar jumper. So yeah, it's just gonna be super cozy, perfect in time for fall. And I am very, very pleased with the way this is turning out. And I will be excited to have a black, well, you know, somewhat black charcoal-y sweater to add to my my sweater wardrobe. The yarn that I'm using is Gilead, which is 100% merino wool. It's worsted. It's very, very scrummy. And as I mentioned the last time I talked about this yarn, it's very similar to Brooklyn tweed. They're shelter-based, which if you're not familiar is Targhee wool. It's very, very sheepy, very, very yeah, sheepy and rustic feeling, if that's the way to describe it. Because truth be told, nothing against Brooklyn tweed, I'm just not a fan of their yarn. It never works out for me. I knit the Mazzy sweater a while back, and that sweater has pilled so much, it looks like it's pretty much not wearable anymore. I just look like I'm wearing a schlubby, I don't know. I don't want to wear it anymore just because it looks ratty on me. There's no other way to describe it. But again, nothing against Brooklyn tweed. Some people love Brooklyn tweed, and understandably, I guess it really depends on the pattern and project that you're using. But for me, it just never really works out. So anyway, there's that. But Gilead, I feel like, is a nice compromise or alternative. Alternative is the word that I was going for, because it feels very similar to it. I don't feel like it's going to disintegrate in my hands while I knit with it. Highly recommend this project, or this, I highly recommend this yarn if you are looking for an alternative to Brooklyn tweed or just want a nice rustic workhorse worsted weight yarn to work with. So there's that. Not sponsored, just a fan. And there you have it, a short and sweet episode for you this week, guys. That is all the creative content that I have to speak of. I did not manage to get any sewing done, although I want to make more skater dresses. I did purchase more fabric to make more skater dresses for roller skating, which I will talk about later in the blather segment. One thing that I do want to catch you up on really quickly regarding sewing is my niece's bat mitzvah dress. If you recall a while back, I mentioned that my sister-in-law had asked if I would be interested in sewing a dress for my niece's bat mitzvah, to which I gleefully jumped for joy and said, yes, 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 I'm here for it. I would love to make her a dress. No pressure at all. So that was a while back. We took her measurements, I bought the fabric, I have the pattern ready to go. However, unfortunately, with everything going on, and this is back in November when she asked me. So, with COVID and everything that's going on and some other issues, unfortunately, her bat mitzvah has to be postponed to a later date. So as far as, of course, she's still a growing child, or preteen, I should say. Her measurements have since changed since I last measured her. So the project is temporarily tabled until a future date. Hopefully she's still into the same style and same color. If not, I can always find another use for the fabric. But anyway, just to, give you guys a heads up or update on that project. Bat mitzvah dress is postponed to a later date, TBD. So I will let you know once that project picks back up again. But yeah, other than that, I am gonna move along to the blather segment, a segment where I chat about what's been happening in my life, should you care to stick around. And yes, roller skating. As I mentioned last week, I have fallen hardcore down the roller skating rabbit hole. And I, with the exception of the weather this week, which has been horrible, it's just been raining nonstop every single day since, I don't know, Tuesday. I did get to the roller, no, let me see. No, Monday I did not go roller skating, but Tuesday I did manage to get out to the park that I go to practice, and the rest of the week it's just been rained out. Again, it's slow going. Every time I go out there, something I notice clicks. Be it just, how to turn or just distribute my weight on my legs, and it's just a really, really fun process for me. So I'm so glad that, I picked up this hobby, and yeah, I've just been having so much fun with it. And I feel like I'm actually getting a workout. It's great to finally be getting exercise, because I do not like to exercise, as I mentioned. I'm not an exerciser. It takes a lot to get me out of the house, walking and doing things, because I'd rather be home, sitting on my butt, making things. Not to say that you don't burn calories knitting. You actually do burn 90 calories knitting for an hour. The more you know. I think it's good to get out and get your heart rate up and, burn those extra calories sometimes. So that has been very good for that. But what's cool about roller skating? It's a conversation starter. I mean, Dennis and I have lived in this neighborhood in Bushwick for over 5 years, and New Yorkers, I'm not gonna lie, we keep to ourselves. We're not like, hey neighbor, what's going on, and have a conversation. Everyone pretty much, unfortunately, just keeps to themselves and, whatever. But I will say the first day that I went roller skating, I went to a little park over here where it wasn't ideal for practice at all. I quickly learned, but I just went back and forth, up and down. This one local guy, he must have been in his, like early 50s, late 40s, but he was so excited to see me on roller skates. He, was asking me how long I've been roller skating for, and then he was kicking himself for not bringing his roller skates. Anyway, it was just really fun chatting with him, getting to meet people in my actual neighborhood. And then another anecdote that I have, Dennis and I actually ended up voting early on Sunday, and the voting venue was actually like right around the corner from the place that I practice my roller skating at, the park. So I decided, all right, we'll go vote, and then right after since I'm right there, I might as well just go practice roller skating. So I brought my roller skates with me, and we're waiting online. And, they had volunteers helping out, guiding people, telling them where to go. And there were 2 people that commented on my roller skates, like, you roller skate? You're going roller skating? And then another woman recommended, and I can't for the life of me remember who it was, but she said to look up on Facebook, this one woman, she teaches roller skating classes in the neighborhood. I have to do a little research and sleuthing to find the person that she was talking about, but that would be really cool if I could just find a group of people that roller skate and actually like take classes or something. Anyway, but yeah, it was really cool to have that kind of engagement and talk to them about roller skating a little bit. So yeah, it's like opened up this whole other world of people, like the knitting community, and now you have the roller skating community. So it's I'm excited about it, guys. I don't know about you, but yes. So anyway, that's roller skating, and it ended up being a really nice day that Sunday. So the sun was out. It was a beautiful fall day, so that worked out really nicely. But yeah, Dennis and I voted. The election night is coming up. I think it's Monday or Tuesday. But yeah, Dennis and I ended up voting early on Sunday in person, because this is not a political podcast by any means, but this election is kind of a big deal. So Dennis and I made sure that we got out and we voted in person early. And it ended up, we were a little concerned because we tried going Saturday, but the line was just all the way around the block, and I cannot stand waiting in any lines. So we said, all right, I'll try and go during the week. But Sunday we decided to scope it out, and sure enough, there was a long line, but it wasn't as long as it was on Saturday. So we're like, rip it off like a Band-Aid. Let's wait online. And it ended up not being a long wait. I think we waited online for like 30 minutes at most. I mean, these people knew what they were doing. They had a system, and everyone was socially distanced, wearing masks, and it was just an enjoyable process. So yeah, we got out, we voted early, it felt great, and here we are. So we shall see what happens in the future. But anyway, that said, I am gonna end things there, my friends. Thank you so much, as always, for hanging out with me. If you're new here, welcome to my little corner of the interwebs. If you haven't already, please feel free to like and subscribe. I put out a video for your viewing pleasure every week. And until the next video, happy knitting, happy sewing, happy making, and I'll see you next time. Bye.